November in Chicago had already brought harsh cold. Emily Carter, who worked as a marketing consultant, gazed out the window of her luxury apartment in the Lincoln Park district, watching snow dance and scatter along the lakefront. 5 years into her marriage, her heart had grown as cold as the snow outside. In the early days of their marriage, Emily had been happy. Her meeting with Michael Carter had come through a friend's introduction. He was a promising young man working as vice president of the family-owned Carter Construction Company, and he had been drawn to Emily's intelligence and beauty, pursuing her earnestly. The Carter family was a distinguished name in the construction industry spanning 3 generations, with an impressive mansion in the upscale suburbs of Chicago. Her father-in-law Robert was the company president with considerable influence in the local business community, while her mother-in-law Patricia was a prominent figure in the social scene, active in local charitable organizations. During their newlywed period, Emily felt warmly welcomed by her in-laws. Patricia had said, "We're so delighted to welcome such a wonderful daughter-in-law," and Robert had smiled, saying, "Michael has found himself a fine woman." Emily tried to be a good wife and daughter-in-law while continuing her own career. On weekends, she would visit the in-laws' home, cook with Patricia, and listen to Robert's stories about the company. However, after their first year of marriage, the family's attitude began to gradually change. It started with Patricia's casual remark, "We'd love to see a grandchild's face soon." At first, Emily took it as endearing expectation, but gradually those words became a burden weighing heavily on her shoulders. In their second year, Emily and Michael began actively trying to have a child. However, no signs of pregnancy appeared. Emily secretly visited a gynecologist and underwent tests. The doctor told her, "We don't find any particular problems. Stress might be a factor." She suggested that Michael also get tested, but he made excuses like, "I'm busy" and "I don't have time," and never ended up getting examined. By the 3rd year, Patricia's attitude became more blatant. At every family gathering, she would persistently ask, "Still nothing? Isn't there some problem? Have you been to the hospital?" When Emily told her she had begun fertility treatments, Patricia showed a momentary expression of sympathy, but quickly said, "I knew it. Please get treatment quickly and show us our grandchild." Those words carried more demand to fulfill her own desires than any compassion for Emily. The fertility treatments were more painful than she had imagined. Daily basal temperature monitoring, hormone injections, regular hospital visits. Emily's mind and body gradually became exhausted. However, Michael continued to avoid participating in the treatments, using work as an excuse. "I'll leave it to you. I'm too busy with work." His words made Emily feel even more isolated. It felt as though she was being forced to carry alone a problem that the couple should face together. In the 4th year, Robert also began voicing his dissatisfaction. Words like, "If there's no heir, what will happen to the company?" and "Michael has responsibilities," were spoken naturally at family dinner tables. Emily could only listen in silence. She was treated as though she were a defective product, betraying the family's expectations. Sometimes she was forced to attend gatherings with Patricia's friends. There, Emily could only watch from the sidelines as other women showed off photos of their grandchildren and got excited talking about child rearing. Patricia would invariably explain, "Our daughter-in-law still hasn't conceived. She's undergoing treatment, but it's taking time," leaving Emily feeling unbearably uncomfortable. Now in their 5th year, Emily was completely isolated within the family. Michael immersed himself in work, spending less and less time at home. Recently, even on weekends, he would go out saying he had important meetings or golf with clients. The in-laws treated her politely on the surface, but disappointment and resignation showed in their eyes. Emily acutely felt that she had become a burden to the family. To the Carters, she was nothing but someone who continued to betray expectations. She had continued fertility treatments for 5 years, but without results. The doctor had suggested age might be a factor. "Perhaps you should consider other options," but the in-laws showed no interest in alternatives like adoption or surrogacy. "It would be meaningless unless the child carries Carter blood," was Robert's firm belief. Today was November 15th, Emily's birthday. Emily woke up at 7 in the morning. The bed beside her was already empty, with only Michael's pillow remaining. She couldn't hear shower sounds from the bathroom either. He had probably already left for the company. Emily picked up her cell phone from the bedside table. There wasn't a single message wishing her happy birthday. When she went to the kitchen, there were traces of the coffee maker having been used. Michael had drunk his coffee alone and gone to work without saying anything. As Emily brewed fresh coffee, she remembered last year's birthday. That time too, Michael had left for work early and came home late. She recalled his figure offering her a small cake that looked like it had been bought at a convenience store, making excuses. "I didn't forget, I was just busy." Emily tried to focus on her marketing consultant work. Since it was a work-from-home day, she sat at her computer in the study, creating materials for a client's new product launch strategy. Only while immersed in work could she forget about family matters. Emily took pride in her professional abilities. She had gained the trust of multiple major corporations, being entrusted with everything from marketing strategy planning to execution. However, to her in-laws, her professional success was merely something to compensate for her failure to produce an heir. Around 11 in the morning, her friend Sarah called. "Happy birthday, Emily. Today's a special day. Do you have any plans?" Sarah's bright voice warmed Emily's heart a little. "Thank you, Sarah. I don't have any particular plans. Michael is busy with work." "Oh, really? But maybe there'll be some surprise tonight. Men aren't good at these things, but sometimes they do something wonderful at the last minute." Emily forced a bitter smile. "Maybe so." After hanging up, Emily gazed out the window. Chicago's cityscape was covered with gray clouds, and the first snow was beginning to fall. Where was her life heading? Should she continue fertility treatments, or should she look for a different path? Was her relationship with Michael reparable? These questions raced through her mind. For lunch, she ate a simple salad alone. Normally, her mother-in-law Patricia would scold her, saying, "You're not getting pregnant because you eat only cold foods," but today it was quiet. Ironically, Emily found this silence comforting. Around 2 in the afternoon, her cell phone rang. It was a call from Patricia. Emily hesitated for a moment but answered. "Emily, keep tonight free." Patricia's voice didn't have its usual social tone but carried a commanding ring. "Tonight? Is there something special?" "There's a family meeting. We have important matters to discuss, so come to Le Bernardin on Michigan Avenue at 6:30. Le Bernardin was one of Chicago's finest French restaurants. Having a family meeting there was unusual. Normally, important family discussions were held in the living room of the in-laws' house. What kind of discussion will it be? I'll explain the details later. Just make sure you come. Don't be late." Patricia hung up unilaterally. Emily stared at her cell phone, feeling anxiety sprouting in her chest. Patricia's tone was even colder than usual, with an atmosphere suggesting some major decision was about to be made. Emily tried calling Michael, but his cell phone went to voicemail. When she called the office, his secretary Jessica answered. "Carter Construction, this is Jessica Morris." "Jessica, it's Emily. Is Michael available?" "I'm sorry, Vice President Carter is in an important meeting. If it's urgent, I can take a message." Jessica's voice didn't have its usual friendly tone but sounded distant and businesslike. Emily felt something was off. "No, that's fine. I'll contact him later." After hanging up, Emily sat alone on the living room sofa. Why did she have to feel so anxious on her own birthday? Patricia's commanding attitude, Michael's absence, and Jessica's cold response, everything felt like an ominous omen. Around 4 in the afternoon, Emily began getting ready. Since it was a family meeting at a high-end restaurant, she chose a black dress. As she applied makeup in front of the mirror, she looked at her own face. Even at 32, she was still a beautiful woman. However, 5 years of mental exhaustion had cast deep shadows in her eyes. While preparing to go out, Emily thought about tonight's meeting. Perhaps the in-laws would propose new fertility treatments. Or maybe they intended to discuss adoption. However, from Patricia's tone, she couldn't sense an atmosphere that would allow for such constructive discussion. At 5:30, Emily left home. Chicago's streets were already wrapped in twilight, and streetlights were beginning to turn on. In the taxi heading to Michigan Avenue, she gazed out at the scenery while reflecting on these 5 years of married life. A relationship that should have been bound by love had somehow become dominated by duty and disappointment. The taxi driver asked, "Miss, is today a special day?" "Yes, it's my birthday." "That's wonderful. I'm sure you'll have a lovely evening." Emily smiled, but in her heart, she couldn't believe the driver's words. Rather, she had a premonition that this night would become a turning point in her life. However, she didn't yet know whether it would be in a good or bad direction. When she arrived in front of Le Bernardin, Emily took a deep breath. This high-end restaurant was also a place of memories where she and Michael had visited several times while dating. Happy memories from those days came flooding back, making her feel as though her chest was being squeezed. Emily told herself, whatever discussion awaited her, she was a strong woman who could face any difficulty. If tonight would become a turning point in her life, she was prepared to accept it. When she opened the heavy doors of Le Bernardin, warm lighting and elegant music welcomed Emily. The receptionist smiled politely. "Welcome. Do you have a reservation?" "I'm here for the Carter family reservation." "I'm Emily Carter." "Understood. Please follow me." Emily was guided by the woman toward the back of the restaurant. Normally she would have enjoyed the beautiful interior and sophisticated atmosphere, but tonight her anxiety only grew. As she walked down the hallway, she heard the happy laughter of other guests. Families celebrating birthdays, couples celebrating anniversaries, friends enjoying pleasant meals. Everyone seemed to be spending warm time together. "This is your private room." The room she was shown to was a quiet private dining room with chic interior design. However, the moment Emily opened the door, her blood ran cold. There was no one in the room. Beautiful flowers were arranged on the table, but there was no sign of people. "Excuse me, haven't the other guests arrived yet?" "I apologize, I don't know the details, but the reservation shows that you would be arriving alone." Emily was confused. Patricia had said it was a family meeting, so why was she alone? However, the receptionist had already left the room. Emily cautiously entered the room. Looking around the table, she noticed a white envelope placed next to the flowers. Beside it, 2 suitcases that she recognized as her own were neatly arranged. They were her belongings. Her heart began pounding violently. Emily picked up the envelope with trembling hands. Inside were folded documents and a short note. When she opened the documents, they were divorce papers. Moreover, Michael's signature and seal were already affixed. Emily collapsed into a chair. When she read the note, cruel words were written there. "A woman who cannot bear children has no place in this family. We have wasted enough time for 5 years. Enough is enough. Leave immediately. We have packed your belongings. Never appear before us again." The Carter family. Emily's hands were shaking. For their 5-year marriage to end in this way, on her birthday, at a high-end restaurant, as if disposing of something unwanted. The room door opened and Michael entered. However, his expression showed neither guilt nor sadness. Rather, there was a businesslike coldness, as if he had come to take care of a troublesome chore. "Emily, it's as the documents say. Let's end this." "Michael, what is this? Why in this manner?" Emily's voice trembled, but Michael remained expressionless. "I waited 5 years, but you couldn't have children. Our family needs an heir. We can't waste any more time. We're husband and wife. Children can't be the only purpose of marriage, can they?" Michael laughed coldly. "You're mistaken. For the Carter family, marriage is for continuing the family line. If you can't fulfill that role, there's no point in your existence." Emily stood up. Anger was beginning to overtake sadness. "Do you understand how much I suffered for 5 years? How painful the fertility treatments were. You never once accompanied me. You never got tested. You pushed everything onto me alone. That was your problem. It has nothing to do with me. Michael's words carved deep wounds in Emily's heart. Was this man really the person she had loved? Do your parents feel the same way? Of course. Mother says a wife who can't bear children is not a wife. Father says an adopted child not carrying Carter blood is out of the question. We all unanimously made this decision. Emily took a deep breath. 5 years of accumulated humiliation and disappointment were reaching their peak at this moment. However, she also felt a strange sense of liberation. She no longer needed to put on fake smiles. She no longer had to endure her in-laws' sarcasm. I understand, Michael. But let me ask you one thing. Do you have another woman? Michael was momentarily shaken but quickly composed himself. That's irrelevant. It's Jessica, isn't it? Michael's face turned pale. How long has it been? 6 months? A year? That's none of your business. Emily laughed quietly. You're right, it's none of my business anymore. But Michael, you're making a big mistake. What do you mean? Emily took out her smartphone from her handbag. I have a surprise, too. While you all treated me as a defective product who couldn't bear children, what do you think I was doing? Michael looked confused. Actually, I had a secret too. About the cause of infertility, I underwent detailed tests a year ago. The result was that there was absolutely nothing wrong with me. The problem lay with someone else. Emily operated her smartphone screen. While you continued refusing to get tested, I was investigating on my own. Your past medical examination records, your company's health insurance usage history, and evidence of your affair with Jessica. Michael's face turned completely pale. But that's not all. I also made interesting discoveries about your father's company books. Evidence of embezzlement too. What are you talking about? Emily smiled calmly. I'm a marketing professional. Information gathering and analysis are my specialties. During these 5 years, while you all looked down on me, I was steadily collecting evidence. She pressed the send button on her smartphone. I just sent all the evidence to the relevant parties. Your company's business partners, local newspapers, and the tax office too. Michael panicked. Emily, what have you done? My surprise. A heartfelt return gift for what you all gave me. Emily stood up and signed the divorce papers. This is the end, Michael. But this isn't an ending, it's the beginning of my new life. She picked up the suitcases and started to leave the room. Wait, Emily. Emily answered without turning back. Goodbye, Michael. I'm grateful for your surprise. Thanks to it, I was able to gain true freedom. She quietly closed the private room door and headed toward the restaurant exit. Emily stopped in the restaurant lobby and checked her smartphone screen. A list of sent messages was displayed. 12 major business partners of Carter Construction, 3 local business newspapers, the Chicago City Tax Office, and the State Construction Permit Management Bureau. Detailed evidence materials along with accusation documents had been sent to all of them. Michael came rushing out of the private room in panic. His face was drained of color, and sweat beaded on his forehead. Emily, did you really send them? Yes, of course. The evidence I collected over 5 years, I released it all tonight. Emily continued calmly operating her smartphone. First, about your infertility. The health examination results I obtained a year ago revealed that your sperm motility was remarkably low. In other words, the real cause of our inability to have children lay with you. Michael was speechless. But even more interesting are the details of your affair with Jessica. I know she threatened you by claiming she was pregnant. In reality, she wasn't pregnant at all. What do you claim to know? Emily smiled. 2 weeks ago, I met directly with Jessica. At first she was hostile, but as we talked, I realized she was also a victim. Michael's face turned even paler. Jessica genuinely thought she loved you. But you were just using her. While promising to marry her after divorcing your wife, you were actually arranging dates with other women. Emily played an audio file from her smartphone. A conversation between Michael and Patricia could be heard clearly. If Emily is infertile, we must remarry someone younger who can definitely bear children. Jessica is just for fun. A real marriage partner must be from a better family. Michael was stunned. Jessica faked the pregnancy because she wanted to believe you loved her. But when she learned the truth, she was furious. And she decided to cooperate with me. The sound of heels echoed at the restaurant entrance. Jessica Morris appeared. The 26-year-old woman was beautiful, but tonight her face held anger and determination. Michael, you're the worst kind of man. Jessica stood in front of Michael. I really loved you. But after hearing from Emily, I realized it was all lies. Michael was flustered. Jessica, you're misunderstanding. Misunderstanding? Was it a misunderstanding when you told me my marriage with Emily was loveless? When you said, I love only you. Jessica took out a recorder from her handbag. I was also collecting evidence. Your conversations, what you discussed with your mother, and the embezzlement at the company too. Michael was astounded. Embezzlement? What are you talking about? Emily spoke up. I thoroughly examined Carter Construction's books. Over the past 3 years, a total of $2 million has been illegally diverted. Officially recorded as new business investment, but actually used for your personal investments, trips with Jessica, and gifts for mistresses. Those were properly processed as company expenses. Properly? We'll see what the tax office thinks. Emily continued calmly. Furthermore, there were false statements in the safety standard reports submitted during construction permit renewals. You submitted passing reports without actually conducting inspections. That fact is also fully documented. Jessica added, as a secretary, I processed many documents, so I have plenty of evidence. Until Emily told me the truth, I thought this was normal. Michael desperately tried to make excuses. You're both making a huge mistake. We can resolve this through discussion. Emily shook her head. It's too late, Michael. All evidence has been sent to the relevant agencies. It's scheduled to be published in newspapers tomorrow morning too. What do you want? Money? Emily laughed. Money? What you tried to steal from me was dignity and self-respect. For 5 years, you continued blaming me as the cause of infertility, treating me as the family's shame. But the truth was completely different. Jessica shouted emotionally, I was a victim too. You used me as a tool to hurt your wife. The pregnancy was a lie. I was foolish to go that far to get your attention. Michael went into panic mode. I need to contact father. It's too late, Emily looked at her watch. 30 minutes ago, I also sent the same materials to Robert's cell phone. And to Patricia too. Emily's smartphone rang. It was a call from Patricia. Emily pressed the speaker button. Emily. What on earth have you done? Patricia's voice shook with anger and agitation. My birthday present, Patricia. With 5 years of gratitude. The materials you sent are all lies. Unfortunately, they're all facts. Medical certificates, accounting records, audio data, all legally valid evidence that can be verified. Jessica shouted toward the phone, Mrs. Patricia, your son is the worst kind of man. He deceived me, deceived your daughter-in-law, and stole company money. The sound of Patricia gasping could be heard from the other end. Emily dropped her final bombshell. Oh, Patricia. Tomorrow morning, I'm reporting to my new workplace. As marketing department director at Hamilton Construction, your rival company. I'm bringing Carter Construction's major customer list with me. Legally, of course. Silence fell. For 5 years, you all continued looking down on me. But I was preparing for the day when this moment would come. Emily picked up her suitcases. Thank you, Carter family. Thanks to all of you, I was able to find my true self. She headed toward the restaurant exit without looking back. Jessica followed her. Emily, I'm going to look for a new job too. I'm tired of living a lie. The two women disappeared into the snowy Chicago night. Michael stood alone in the restaurant lobby. 1 year later, Emily stood in a beautiful residential area in suburban Chicago. Her abilities as marketing department director at Hamilton Construction were highly regarded in the industry. The customers she had brought from Carter Construction were satisfied with Emily's innovative marketing strategies, and Hamilton's sales had increased by 40% compared to the previous year. Emily's new home was a modern house whose design she had been involved in herself. Afternoon sunlight streaming through large windows warmly illuminated the living room. 8-year-old Sophia sat on the sofa, seriously working on her homework. Emily, I don't understand this math problem. It's okay, let's think about it together. Emily sat next to Sophia and began explaining gently. Sophia, whom she had officially adopted 6 months ago, was an intelligent girl who had been living in an orphanage. Initially, she was very guarded and wouldn't open her heart easily, but now they had built a relationship like a real mother and daughter. Emily, thank you for becoming my mom. Sophia's pure words brought tears to Emily's eyes. This child had taught her that there were things more important than blood relations. She realized that family was built on relationships of mutual love and support. In the kitchen, Jessica was preparing dinner. She had become Emily's close friend and was a reliable presence who sometimes looked after Sophia. She had begun dating a sincere man she met at her new workplace and was learning what true love really meant. Emily, tomorrow's presentation materials are perfect. Jessica reported with a smile. She had also started working at Hamilton and was excelling as a talented sales representative. Thank you, Jessica. Having you here is really helpful. Meanwhile, the Carter family had completely fallen. Due to the discovery of embezzlement, Robert was forced to step down from management. Having lost major customers, Carter Construction fell into financial crisis and was ultimately bought out by another company. Michael was fired, and his career in the construction industry was effectively over. Patricia lost the trust of high society and had to resign from all her positions in charitable organizations. Michael was currently working as a salesperson at a small real estate company, but because his past scandals were widely known, he couldn't achieve the results he hoped for. After being abandoned by Jessica, he had relationships with several other women, but none lasted long. One evening when Emily came home, there were familiar figures at her front door. Patricia and Michael were standing there. The two, whom she was seeing for the first time in a year, had completely lost their former dignity and looked shabby. Emily, we came because we have a favor to ask. Patricia's voice had lost its former arrogance and took on a pleading tone. The company is on the verge of bankruptcy. We want to borrow your strength. Emily answered calmly, I'm sorry, but I must decline. Please, Emily. Forget about the past. Michael also desperately pleaded, but Emily's resolve didn't waver. You didn't treat me as family. It's too convenient now to ask for help as family. Sophia appeared next to Emily. Mom, who are these people? Emily gently stroked Sophia's head. No one, Sophia. They're people who have nothing to do with us. Patricia looked at Sophia in surprise. You mean you have a child? Yes, my precious daughter. We're not blood related, but we're a real family. At Emily's words, Patricia and Michael were speechless. You taught me one thing. True family isn't determined by blood relations or the ability to bear children. It's built on relationships of mutual love, respect, and support. Emily continued with a resolute attitude. I'm walking a new path in life. I have no intention of returning to your past. The two gave up and left. Emily went inside and sat down for dinner with Sophia. The table was filled with warm food and loving conversation. Outside the window, Chicago's night view sparkled beautifully. Emily was now 33 and understood what true happiness meant. It wasn't something given by others, but something she built herself. After Sophia fell asleep, Emily was in her study doing final checks on tomorrow's presentation. The new project was a housing construction plan for low-income people. It embodied her wish to provide homes where everyone could live with peace of mind. Late at night, Emily wrote in her diary, reflecting on the events of her birthday a year ago. That night, I was able to find my true self. The Carter family's cruel surprise ultimately gave me the greatest gift. The opportunity to know freedom, dignity, and true love. Emily put down her pen with a smile. Tomorrow, another new day would begin. A future full of hope awaited her, walking together with her beloved daughter.